Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. After 11 months of the 2019-2020 NBA season, we finally crowned a champion. It's the Los Angeles Lakers, and this team really had quite the different formula than you see most championships teams have. This franchise was a complete mess as recently as 2 years ago, and all it really took was signing the best player in the world in LeBron James in order to change their fortunes around. Last season was very ugly for them as well, as we saw trade rumors swirling around Anthony Davis being exchanged for basically the entirety of the Lakers roster outside of LeBron. And because of that, the chemistry issues were off with the team. LeBron was injured with a groin injury for a large part of that 2018-2019 season. And they really just never put it together and didn't even make the playoffs. But this year, we saw a team that was much, much more than just a playoff team. In the offseason, they were able to make a huge, huge blockbuster trade. Maybe, as I've heard Zach Lowe say, the biggest trade in the NBA since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was traded from the Milwaukee Bucks to the Lakers, of course. And that just is mind-blowing, but it also quite possibly could be true. As we saw Davis get traded for numerous first-round picks, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart. We saw the Lakers greatly improve their championship odds as they turned many assets that had them prepared to contend in the future for one asset that had them become the championship favorite for now. And they capitalized on that opportunity. They were the best team in the NBA this year, as you can tell by them winning the championship, and they really put it together on the defensive end of the floor. We saw this team buy in on the defensive end. They had a defensive head coach in Frank Vogel, who, outside of the trade for Anthony Davis, was by far the biggest move that this Lakers team made this offseason. Signing Frank Vogel was perfect because his defensive coaching style fit right in with their identity as one of the greatest defensive teams of all time. When you have a guy like Anthony Davis, who is one of the best defenders in the entire NBA and will be a lot of people's pick to win the Defensive Player of the Year next season, and you have one of the greatest defensive players of all time in LeBron James. I know he's never won a Defensive Player of the Year, but I don't think that anyone would argue that when LeBron is giving it his all, he's a great defensive player. That's just simply a fact. You surround them with guards that work hard, like Alex Caruso, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Danny Green, that give good effort on the defensive end of the floor and really play hard, along with some big guys that can influence shots at the rim, guys like Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. That is a recipe for success on the defensive end of the floor. And we saw it come to fruition with one of the greatest defensive teams the league has ever seen. Especially in Game 6 of the Finals, it really showed. They held the Heat to a point total in the 30s. I think it was 35 for an entire half in a Finals game. That is just wildly impressive from this Lakers defense, and that is the main reason why they won this title. They were definitely above average on the offensive end of the floor, as we saw LeBron and Anthony Davis both have dominant efforts throughout this playoff run. We also saw players like Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Rajon Rondo step up and have point totals in the high teens for particular games. That's what really made this team so interesting. It was really LeBron, AD, and a cast of misfit toys. Rajon Rondo was unwanted by the rest of the NBA after he struggled in a couple different places. He struggled with Dallas. That was a complete train wreck. And after that, he floated around the league for a little bit before settling in LA. And since he's come here, Lakers fans have hated him. But we saw playoff Rondo turn it on, and oh boy, was he useful for them. I would say he was the fourth best player on this team behind LeBron, AD, and KCP, as we saw his playmaking acumen, his ability to make smart veteran plays, crashing the glass on the offensive end of the floor, as well as getting himself some easy buckets with good cutting and quick feet, as well as obviously the playmaking is outstanding. He also saw some good defense. Obviously, he's not great on that end of the floor, but he is a smart enough. Obviously, he's one of the smartest players of this generation, and it showed. He forced so many turnovers that really just should not have ever happened by just being the smartest guy on the floor. And Rondo was a huge boon to this team and helped to get them where they are. Alex Caruso was undrafted out of Texas A&M, and he started Game 6 for this team and had the best plus-minus of anyone on the roster. I think that Caruso was one of the most important players on this championship run due to the defensive effort he brought, as well as smart offensive playing. There's really a certain mold of guy that can excel around LeBron James. If you're a smart player, you will do well. We saw it with Matthew Dellavedova. We've seen it with guys like that in the past. And this year, we really saw it with guys like Caruso and Rondo who just make the right play. And it helped this team in order to win this finals. Danny Green is probably the last thing from a misfit toy, but he received death threats after missing a shot at the end of Game 5. So you could categorize him in there with those other guys. Dwight Howard, nobody wanted him after he caused culture problems in numerous different locker rooms. JaVale McGee, he was mostly known for Shaqtin' a Fool, and obviously he wasn't a big contributor in this finals, but he won his third ring, and you cannot deny that he is a winner, and he does work hard. Then you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was the laughingstock of Laker fans worldwide, as he appeared to be one of the highest overpaid players in the entire NBA. And now he's looking at a big pay raise in this offseason, whether it comes from the Lakers or from a team elsewhere that buys into him as a 3-and-D 2-guard. A team like the Hawks or the Knicks would certainly be possibilities with the surplus cap space they have this offseason. He's going to get a pay raise, and he earned it with his stellar play. I think he scored 48 points in games 4, 5, and 6 of this year's finals. Who else was on this team that got a ring? Obviously, there were the bench warmers, J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters, those goons. Congratulations to them for getting themselves a ring. But really, it just comes back to LeBron and AD. And this really solidifies LeBron's case as the GOAT. If you're someone that looks at an entire career of accomplishments, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time should be the person who had the best peak. And I saw peak LeBron, and although I didn't see peak Michael Jordan, I watched The Last Dance, and obviously that's not the same, but I just feel like from everything that I've heard from people that I really trust, and I've seen both these guys play, Michael Jordan had the better peak, and for that reason, I would say that Michael Jordan is my GOAT, as well as arguably having better career accomplishments outside of the counting stats, because LeBron is running laps around him in points and assists. But in terms of finals victories, 6-0 is hard to argue with, and that on top of me just being a person who views a player's peak as the most important thing in determining their historical rank, I have to go with Michael Jordan at number 1, but I also don't think that there's any debate that LeBron is a top 2 player of all time. And this just further cements that. Third team he's won a championship with. Third team he's won a finals MVP with. He just continues to play so stellarly. And his prime just continues. How many other guys have we seen do this at the age of 36? None. Michael Jordan was retired at this point in his career. Obviously, he came out of that retirement and played with the Wizards, but we don't talk about that. Anthony Davis, this will really get his legacy started. I think that after this, he probably moves into the top 50 of all time. I feel like he has to be considered up there because he is a fantastic player. The advanced metrics love him and rate him as actually like a top 10 player of all time. I think PER, player efficiency rating, so specifically loves him and ranks him as like the third best of all time behind MJ and LeBron in terms of career PER. And this just starts off that legacy. One championship for him. Obviously didn't get the Finals MVP, which you could have argued he deserved. Didn't get the Defensive Player of the Year this year, which you could have argued that he deserved. But I'm sure that this guy is going to have a very fruitful career as long as he's wearing the Laker gold and purple. It's going to be interesting with this team moving forward, what they will do as LeBron continues to age. And, I mean, I think he's going to start to decline at some point. You have to think that, but who is the next star player that we see playing in the purple and gold? I have no idea, but I mean, I hope it's not Giannis, but whoever it is, it's going to be fun because Anthony Davis is a great player and he's part of the future generation that's going to continue to make the NBA great for years to come. Him alongside Luka and Giannis are really the generational superstars that we see coming up that are going to replace guys like Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant as the best players in the NBA. And I'm just so excited for this, for the league's future because I love basketball and this was a heck of a season and I can't wait for another great one. I'm going to be uploading very frequently, I think probably 4 or 5 videos per week, just talking about the off season, doing trade videos like I did about Chris Paul a couple days ago, draft videos. I think I'll probably do a mock draft at some point in the next 7 days, so keep an eye out for that. Videos talking about what I think each team needs to do this offseason is more of a general thing, not the specific team-by-team stuff, but like one player each team should consider trading for. I know it sounds like a Bleacher Report article, and Bleacher Report is not my favorite thing to read, but I think those could be some fun videos to make, and I'm definitely considering making them. So thank you for all the support during this playoffs run. It was a lot of fun, and I'm sad that it had to come to an end, but I'm just excited for next season now, and I hope that you'll enjoy my off-season content. That's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all again very soon.